District Board of Directors meeting for December 11th, 2025. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Can someone click the flag?
Oh, no.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
To the flag
the
of
United
the
States
United
of America,
of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty and
liberty
justice
and justice for all.
for all. That brings back COVID memories. It was always so awkward. I think we ended up muting everybody else. So it was always myself. Okay, so moving on to the agenda. Do we have a motion or comments around the agenda?
Yes,
Motion.
I would like to. Oh,
Go ahead.
Gary. Okay, I was going to make a motion to amend the agenda to postpone today's scheduled work session to a future meeting.
Point of order. First, we should motion to approve and then accept amendments.
Thank you.
So I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right. Well, and any comments now, Judith? Sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
I should have lined that up
I
for
would
you.
still
wait,
like
we
to make a
approve it and then
motion.
okay.
I would still like to make a motion to amend the agenda to postpone today's work session to a future board meeting date.
All right. All in favor with the amended agenda?
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor of the amended agenda?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right. Amended agenda passes unanimously. All right. Next item is approval of the minutes of the November 13th, 2025 regular board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Next is approval of the minutes of the November 13th, 2025 board work session. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Next, communications and recognition.
Thank you. Just want to remind everyone that we guide our work through our vision and mission statement, which our vision is to cultivate competent, creative, compassionate students who are fully equipped with the necessary skills, knowledge, and resilience to thrive in a global society. And how we do that is through our mission, and we will educate every student in a challenging, innovative, and inclusive environment, empowering them to reach their full potential. The communications I have tonight are highly focused around recent water events in our school district, and I want to say a big thank you to all of our staff, students as well. Special shout out goes to our bus drivers who had to move buses up to the Snoqualmie Ridge and out of the floodways during that packed parkway event when everyone was detouring off of I-90. Also, big thank you to our Snoqualmie Elementary teachers who helped us relocate our students over to Mount Si High School so they could be picked up and put on the buses. My cabinet as well did a fantastic job in a moment's notice, making last minute changes and whatnot. And I really want to say thank you to Assistant Superintendent Ryan Stokes for everything he did, assisting me out and about in the field. But everyone kind of rose to the challenge, and we were able to get everyone home safe. And that's all I have.
Awesome. I'll add to the good of the order for more, but I don't think that the team could have done a better job given the unpredictable change in what happened yesterday morning, and just the professionalism was awesome. I'll save it for the good of the order, but big kudos. All right, so moving on to public comment, we have one written comment that I think all of us had seen, and that will be posted or attached to the minutes. We have no one that, and ended up staying on for actual personal public comment live, I guess you could say, on Zoom. So I'm going to move on to approval of the consent agenda. And as is our practice, we want to recognize the gifts to the district, and we have 4. The first donor is Cascade View Elementary School PTSA, a donation of $6,000 for 4th grade camp and first assemblies. The recipient is Cascade View Elementary. The second is from Twin Falls Middle School PTA or PTSA, a donation amount of $500 for Dungeons and Dragons Club, and the recipient is Twin Falls Middle School. The third, the donor is Treasures in Heaven, and that's $6,200. And the purpose was outstanding lunch debts. And so the recipient was Snoqualmie Valley School District Food Services. And last is Wildcat Booster Club Dance. And the donation amount is $10,490.28 for Dance Nationals. And that was given to Mount Si High School. So thank you for your generous gifts to the district. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And then I have a request to remove policy 1210 from the, oh, nope, that's not even on the consent agenda, is it?
Nope.
It's on the other part. Never mind. Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving on to information and report items.
Almost forgot to unmute myself, sorry. And I would like to invite Director Talmadge in to give us our report on educational technology.
Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. How's that? Can you all see?
Yes.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for allowing me this opportunity to share a little bit about what our team, my team, has been up to lately. I usually like to start with a little bit of a overview of kind of who we are. This is the team that I get the opportunity to work with. So we are a combination of kind of subject matter technical experts as well as kind of tier 1 tech support specialists, and we all kind of work in combination to kind of keep the district functioning from a technological perspective. We also have a group of student interns that we hire each year, and these are the 4 that we have this year. We have 3 juniors and 1 senior, Alicia, who you may see at the board meeting. She helps with our AV setup, which is a new thing we're trying out this year. So many thanks to our interns for their great work. In terms of our team, and for me as a leader, I like to build a positive team culture. Last year, we looked at kind of 5 different elements that comprise a highly functional team. And this year, we took one of those, which is the 4th one, which is kind of that accountability piece. And we're focusing this year on this concept of personal accountability, which is really about, rather than thinking, oh, someone else should be taking charge of that, or someone else should accomplish this, what can I do within the role that I play on the team to help the team function and to overall help the district function to the best that it can. So these are the things we're focusing on this year in our team meetings, is how can we grow in our level of accountability. In terms of what we do, I organize the tech team within these 5 buckets. So starting with cybersecurity and infrastructure, then support and data integration and digital learning. And while it's nice to think of them as like, 5 discrete areas, in reality, there's a lot of overlap, and they really kind of work in concert to help us perform the duties of our team. What I'd like to do next is really make this a choose your own adventure. So I've got 20 or so things that I can talk about, but we don't have to talk about all of them. I would love to know specifically which of these items within these buckets you might like me to focus on. So I'll just turn it over to the board to take a look at this kind of Jeopardy style board and let me know, for $300, which one you would like, Alex. Oh wait, I don't know who the Jeopardy. It's Ken, isn't it? Yeah, no.
Bus routing software is my pick.
Bus routing software for $200. Let's see, where is that? Right here under data integration. So this summer, the transportation department deployed a new tool for their bus routing. And my team, specifically Sam Peterson, our data integration specialist, collaborated closely with the transportation team as well as with the vendor to make sure that we were able to pull off this transition. And it was not an easy task, partly because we didn't realize that a tool that we use for parent communication of bus routes wasn't going to integrate with this new tool. So my team had to hop to it in the end of July and build an integration with Skyward Family Access so that parents could have access to the routes within Skyward. So I just want to call out that my team was able to hop to that. I would also point out over here, if I click on that, this to me relates to our strategic plan indicator number 5, which is the automation of manual processes, or really just the automation of processes. In this case, sending the data to Skyward so that our families can have access to it.
Justin, do you know what you had to build in order to get them to talk together?
Well, I mean, so we have various ways within our team that we have Skyward SQL databases, and we can send that to various systems using kind of FTP sending of spreadsheets and whatnot. So don't want to get too technical, but I've got subject matter experts on my team that make these things happen seamlessly. Where else would you like to go next?
I'm curious what pen testing is.
Pen testing, yeah. Pen is short for penetration testing. And so basically what we do is we partner with a third-party vendor and we give them access to our environment. So we give them some of our IP addresses, and they, in turn, they pretend to be a bad guy and see where some of our vulnerabilities might be. Basically, what we've been doing is we've been going kind of entity by entity, starting with the district office and moving into other buildings, giving them the IP address range and other information, and then they send us back a report that looks like what you see on the screen. Everything from critical and high to medium and so forth. And this, to me, connects to our strategic plan indicator 3, which is cybersecurity training as well as protocol. So in this case, it would be more focusing on the protocols.
So how are we doing? It looked like there was a lot of critical and a lot of high.
I mean, there are certainly some. Overall, I'd say we're doing well. But there's always going to be certain areas where we need to improve. Things that are, the way I think about it is there's convenience on the one hand, and then there's security on the other. And we're always trying to strike a balance between that for our users. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Where else? How about Melissa? Where would you like to go?
How about the student MFA?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something we've done really recently. This is, as you all are aware, multi-factor authentication is a way that we can provide an additional layer of security. So we've done it with all of our staff accounts in the last couple of years. And just in the last month or so, we rolled it out to our high school students. In the month of November, we essentially did a communication campaign all throughout the school. We sent a slide to be used in their advisory class to walk the students through how they set it up. And essentially, the idea here is that if they're using a district device, there isn't going to be a need to have that second factor authentication. But if they're using a personal device outside of our network, that's when they will be required to do MFA. And this, of course, again, connects back to strategic plan indicator 3, which is cybersecurity. There were issues, of course, anytime you implement a system that's going to impact 2,300 users. Even though we've tried to do the communication ahead of time, we did as much as we thought we could. There's always going to be maybe folks that didn't get the message or didn't understand the message. And so what my team has been doing in the interim now is getting messages from families, and we've been making sure that that MFA is set up for them so they can access what they need where they're at from whatever device they're on. How about Renee?
I would love to hear what Grayson and Avery want to see.
I love that.
Could we look at AI pilots?
Sure,
I agree.
absolutely.
It'd be really cool to look at AI pilots.
Okay, well that'll be, I think that's that's $1,000 row down there, I think. So AI Pilots is a cohort of our teachers all across the Snoqualmie Valley School District that are meeting monthly, and we are looking at some identified AI tools, everything from tools like Colleague AI and Magic School, which are kind of more general AI tools, to some specific ones that I haven't listed here that are more focused on a certain way of doing learning in the classroom. But we're focusing kind of each month on a different aspect. So we started first with materials generation, and we moved into modification. Actually, we did those kind of simultaneously. Student interaction, so using some of these AI tools with students in the classroom, of course, in a targeted way. Also using AI as a teacher thought partner. And then using this as an opportunity to get feedback on which of the tools people prefer, with the ultimate goal of, in the spring, being able to identify, okay, these are the ones we would like to kind of center our AI program around so that we can then really use these tools to the maximum capability. It feels a little bit like now, like it's a little bit like the Wild West out there when it comes to AI. And so I've been holding off as long as I can to really specifically choose one tool over another. But now it feels like the time is right. As we think about our technology levy, we'll have funding in there to really choose an AI tool that we can purchase at the premium level. So hopefully in the 26-27 school year, we can say, these are our tools and we can pay for them and we can move forward to really leverage the capacity of these tools. And I would say this really connects to two different of our strategic plan indicators. Obviously, indicator 2 within technology is professional development. And then also indicator 3, oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, let me get back to where I'm going here. Indicator 6, which is empowering self-learning as well, happens within this cohort. So thank you, students, for bringing that one up. That's a great one. Any others? Maybe we do one or two more.
How about business continuity?
Oh, business continuity, everybody's favorite topic, especially right now. So last year I met with all the different departments at the district office, and we discussed things like, what are your critical functions? What are the critical documents you need? How are you communicating with one another when your normal lines of communication maybe are not working? And then we made some kind of recommended actions. And so this year, what we're doing within the next few weeks and into January is taking a look at those notes from last year and kind of assessing, okay, where are we at? What did we do? What should we still do? What do you need support from my team on to make it happen? So not trying to make it be something that we're like hitting people over the head with, just making sure it's continually kind of in the forefront on our minds. And this is a great time of year for that, given some of the inclement weather that we often see in these winter months. And this, I would say, also connects back to cybersecurity training and protocols. To me, how you respond in an event of cybersecurity, and often it is similar to how you would respond in like a weather-related event as well. Some of the things are similar in the protocols and strategies that you need to utilize. How about one more?
I I think you've talked about network redundancy. I just want to double check that Avery doesn't have something that she wants to see. If she's there.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. My camera's off. Like my front camera doesn't work for some reason.
Oh,
But I'm here.
okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Do you
Avery, is there
But
something
yeah,
you'd
I
like
was
me to
just
talk about?
yeah, I think it'd be interesting to hear about digital learning leaders.
Digital learning leaders. Thank you. Let's go into that one. So digital learning leaders is a group of staff from across the district that meets monthly as well with my team. And these folks, they actually receive a stipend for their work, and they're seen in their building as folks that other staff can go to for support. Since we don't have a technician at every building, we share that responsibility. These people can be kind of our liaison to the building. We expanded the group this year to include more. And we also this year are trying to leverage more of kind of an online weekly discussion. You can see an example of one here from Wendy Penn. She said, if tech tools were superheroes, which one saved your school year so far? And you can see that there were, I don't know, 15 or so replies from some of our digital learning leaders. So it's a way to build that community between the times when we meet face to face on a monthly basis. One of the other things we're utilizing them for is to be a group of folks that can create documentation that we then can push out to our staff to help them use all the different technologies that we have in our district. And I would say that also strategic plan indicator 2 about professional development and also self-empowered learning as well. So these things are in what I sent to the board. You can take a look at these if you have additional things you want to learn about, and you can also reach out to me as well. Happy to share more. But I did want to move on and go ahead, Renee.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I know
please.
you want to move on. I do have a separate
No.
question, and it's a think about it kind of a thing. Don't have
Yeah.
to answer right now. But I am definitely interested in hearing what kinds of things you're concerned about in policy changes right now that have happened over the last year or might be coming forward in this next ledge session. Just wondering if we're sitting down with somebody talking about potential legislation, what are you hoping to see?
I mean, can you give me an example? Have you heard of various things that might be coming down the pike related to, say, student cell phones or data privacy or any of those issues?
So we're right at the very beginning of bills being presented early. So I don't have anything on the docket yet, but like last year, E-rate was a discussion on the table. I know that if you come across something, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let Dan know, and then he'll let us know.
For sure. Remind me, who's the legislative liaison on the board?
Right now, it is Gary.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you. Let's talk about the levy. So we are going to be running a levy early February. You all know that. The community hopefully knows that as well as we ramp up our communication campaign. But I did want to spend a bit of time just thinking about the impact of the 22 to 26 levy. Here's a few bits of information about the things that my team's been able to accomplish as a result of that. Just look at that first one, about 25,000 resolved support cases in 4 years. Think about what it takes to be able to support our district at this scale with my team. 25,000 cases, that's impressive. At a 2-day average resolution time is also pretty impressive. So we're trying to provide service. We're trying to do it in the most efficient and effective way possible. About 200 projects that we've tracked in those 4 years. That gives you another indication. We're not just providing direct support, we're also managing the infrastructure and other projects so that this technology is available and usable. I don't need to read all of these, but maybe the last two at the bottom row. So one of the things that we do is by contract, all of our certificated staff can receive pay for up to 7 hours of technology training each school year. And in the last 4 years, we have paid out our staff have done 6,000 hours of technology training, which is a pretty impressive number in 4 years. In addition, I would just say we've added 85,000 digital records to a new kind of document management system that we have deployed. So lots of things we've been able to do in the last 4 years with our technology levy, and I hope that the community can see the impact of that, and we'll take that into consideration when they choose how they fill out that ballot. Some priorities for 27 through 30, a couple of them are listed here. This is not an exhaustive list, but things like our phone system is ready to be replaced. And I know that that's something that Dan is really high on. We would also want to potentially improve the cell signal at Mount Si High School. And if that goes well, we could also look at making changes at additional buildings where we have some issues for staff and students accessing their cellular network. We also might look at a Mount Si High School student device upgrade, as well as a staff laptop refresh. And then, of course, there are other ways that we can continue to supplement our emergency communications and notifications. So within the building, there are some things we can do with our existing audio amplification setup to add emergency communications to the microphones that the teachers have at their disposal. And then, as I mentioned before, premium AI tools. It feels like it's time for us to make that happen. I would invite all of you and the community at large, please come to Mount Si High School at 5 o'clock on January 22nd. We will show you a lot of the different ways that we are promoting the use of technology. And it's not just putting kids on screens, it's allowing them to collaborate and be creative and to utilize the tools to gain knowledge, skills, and improve their abilities for future careers. So I want to see everybody there. That's what I've got for you. Thanks all.
Any other questions from the board? Or
No, just thank you to Justin and his team. You really do have sort of a hand in, I mean, everything that's going on. That just feels like the foundation of what's happening in our schools and biz ops and HR and all of those things. So I just want to recognize all of the work that your team does on a daily basis to keep us literally connected, I guess.
I appreciate that.
Watch your team grow. It's fun to watch your team grow and to watch the plans develop and be implemented and just move through different phases. I'm excited about where we're headed and what has already happened.
Thank you so much, Renee. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Justin, thank you very much for the update. It's great hearing about your team and all the facets that technology plays in our district.
Thank you, Gary.
all right, I think that I'm ready to invite our two students up to do their first Zoom board report.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen right now, and I'm not sure how to do that, but
How about that green share button on the bottom, Grayson?
yeah, I see that, but then there's
Yep.
a bunch of big triangles with exclamation marks in them, which I feel like is kind of a bad sign, but I'm not really sure.
Do you have a bunch of windows that you can you click on one of them?
Yeah, let's see if. Oh, so it says I can't. It doesn't like work with my computer. Avery, can you
Gotcha.
try?
Yeah, I can try to share my screen. Hold on, let me
Tyler, do you just want to pull up the PDF and we can
Yeah, why
do it
don't we
that
just
way?
have our producer? Wouldn't
Yep.
Okay, that works too.
go
Awesome.
producer?
Okay, perfect. So, welcome to the December student rep report. Today we have 4 different things that we're gonna go over. So we have Mount Si, we have the student focus group, we have another CT spotlight, and then we also kind of like went over WASDA and like our 2 like most interesting breakout sessions, like what to do with that. Okay. Can I move this myself or just someone? Okay, there, perfect. And then just one more. Okay, perfect. So what has already happened? So technically, this is like pre-done. So we were supposed to have the fall recognition assembly this morning, which is why I wrote it like this, but obviously it didn't happen. So we were going to be recognizing girls soccer getting first in state, and then we also found out that their coach was the first female coach to win the 4A title for girls soccer. So we really wanted to recognize that. And then also along with girls soccer getting first in state, we were also recognizing the fact that girls sports have just done really well in general. Within the past 3 years, we've had four state titles, two for cross country, one for track, and now for girls soccer. So just in general, like our girls programs are doing really well. We've also seen that girls cross country made it 10th in state this year, and then volleyball made it 16th in state. But besides just recognizing the teams that made it to state, we also recognize every single sport that had competed this year. Tennis got like multiple Kinko like recognition. Football did as well. Golf, they go to state in the springtime, so they haven't really competed yet. And then we also had the opportunity to recognize clubs if they wanted to. So for example, FFA won nationals for veterinary science. So we have planned to like have a huge thing on that. Like there's a video for us to watch for people to understand what FFA has done, because I think that like there's a lot more recognition for the sport. So it's like, how do we create awareness around FFA? Because I spent a lot of time in a meeting with Miss Graham, who's the FFA coordinator and advisor, and it was really cool to learn about FFA, and we wanted to share that with the school. Then also Wildcat Production Club went to Horror Fest, which is at North Bend Theater, and they took home numerous awards with like audience's favorites and then also judges' favorites. And then also next week, hopefully Wildcat Winter is coming up. So basically compared to Homecoming, which is our other big event, really like that leadership focuses on, we're focused more this time on like the decorations overall instead of just handing out things. Homecoming was a lot about like, oh, let's hand out pink cookies, let's hand out like pink lemonade, like, and let's hand out pancakes, things like that. We want to make it more about just like the whole atmosphere of Mount Si, and really trying to like change that and get people excited for break coming up, because I think a lot of people are looking forward to that, and it's just kind of a fun way to end school before we get back and it's kind of stressful with a lot of different tests with the semester ending. We also had the AP 11th annual poetry slam, and I think that we had four classes, and that means that there's about 120 people that created slam poetry and competed it over 3 days, which was really cool. And then also selective band members got to participate in WIBIC, which is an international honors band, and they had to submit audition tapes, things like that, to be able to actually be a part of this process. Okay. And then now for the November student focus group. So what we did was we looked at what we looked at last year at the very end of the year, and we kind of broke it down between students and staff. So for students, it's looking at a change in attitude, kind of trying to get more academic support. I think a lot of students are afraid of seeking out academic support. So it's how do we connect with our teachers, or how do we connect with our counselors to be able to receive that? Um, Being able to bring more out of Wildcat Day, that's been kind of a pretty hot topic, I would say, with leadership, is like how do we create like a better Wildcat Day to welcome freshmen better? Because I think that there's always ways to really integrate freshmen into our building better. It's such a large place. I think a lot of freshmen do get scared. So it's really how do we work with that? And then also how actions affect everyone. And then for staff, it's trying to look towards maybe doing brain breaks on block days. Doing a lecture for an hour and 15 minutes is a lot for anyone. So it's really making sure that even we could take like a 5-minute break to be able to talk with the people next to us, or to be able to do something more fun than just sitting through a lecture. It doesn't have to be every single block day, but if it's needed, then looking towards that. Also doing check-ins at the beginning of the week. A lot of my teachers have actually transferred over to doing check-ins like on Mondays, and it's really helped like create like a better like connection between me and my teacher. And then also like building stronger connections with students. So then based off of what we looked at last year, we kind of started asking questions on how we could tackle these not issues, but things that we have looked at last year. So for students, it's how do we get students to understand they have an impact? For example, for this report, we were supposed to have our student survey, and we ended up not getting enough responses. So it kind of goes back to like, how do we have students understand that they have an impact? The survey is like meant to allow students to be able to contribute thoughtful, like comments about the school, which can help them or other people. So it's like, how do we get students to fill out things like that to be able to allow us to share with you guys? And then also this is shared to admin too. So it can end up creating better like situations for students. I know like a lot of students last year really talked about the math program, and we ended up being able to have a couple switches in that, which was really cool, and making sure that that impact continues. And then also how we get students to enjoy school more. So at the student focus group, we talked a lot about like the mob mentality behind like a lot of students just like trying to hate on school. And instead, how do we switch that like perspective to have people like be excited about like a certain class, or like talking to a certain teacher, being like in a certain like in the school environment? Because a lot of people right now, I feel have like a negative mindset towards school. So how do we switch that so people want to come to school, even if it's just for a class period? That helps like create a just more positive environment. And then for staff, it's getting teachers to do check-ins, getting teachers to open up more and decrease barriers between teachers and students, which also just builds stronger connection. I think a lot of the people in the focus group really wanted to see like teachers kind of sharing more about themselves, because students like when they can ask their teachers questions about their lives, and I think that creates better bonds between students and teachers, and allows us to be able, when we even look at academic support or wanting to advocate for what students need, it makes more students more comfortable being able to do that when they know a little bit about their teacher, and instead of just someone sitting at the front of the room and kind of just doing lesson after lesson. I think it really helps with that. Okay, and then
Yeah. So now for our CTE spotlight, I got to interview a culinary arts student who's been in the program for all 4 years of high school. And she had some really insightful answers. So the first question I asked was, how has culinary arts built your knowledge in the field? And she said that culinary arts has given her a solid understanding of cooking techniques, food safety, and how a kitchen operates every day. And that if she were to work in a professional setting, she'd feel pretty confident because of how the classes prepared her. And then my second question was, how does the culinary arts pathway stand out? To which she replied, the culinary arts program stands out because they get real hands-on experience every day, and the class runs like an actual kitchen. And even when you're not in the kitchen, they still get to learn about new food and techniques. The third question was, what made you want to continue the program for multiple years? And she said that she stayed in the program because after the first year, you get to step into more of a leadership role. So the class sort of changes a little bit. And even though you're still in the same class, you get to learn more with each year. And in that leadership role, she gets to help guide the new first year students, which makes the class more engaging and gives more responsibility. The last question was whether or not she was planning to pursue a career in the field after high school and how the class impacted that for her. And she said that she will most likely pursue pursue a career in the culinary field after high school, and that the class has given her experience, skills, and a clearer idea of what working in the industry looks like. Okay, now for the WASDA recap. So a couple weeks ago, we got to go to the WASDA conference in Seattle, which I personally thought was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the experience. So what we did, we attended breakout sessions, we got to go to a student dinner, and we did networking. Okay, so some key takeaways from the breakout sessions, we learned a lot about the importance of connection in school communities, and what we can do as student reps to help improve connectedness at our school. And we also went to a breakout session that talked about some potential VR technology that would help students find what path they want to follow after high school. At the student dinner, this is where we did most of our networking, because that's when all the student reps were like together in one room. But we talked about what we all believe the purpose of public school was, and the importance of student voice within districts. And then yeah, we got to connect with other student reps and share all of our experiences, which was really cool. Okay, so just a little more in depth on ways we learned that we can improve connection at our school. One really big one that I got from the breakout sessions was to be the change you want to see, which I know sounds like very cliche, but it's a great way that we can improve connection. So like you need to start making the difference that you want to see. We can be more outgoing and say hi to people. And one example that a speaker gave was just like asking people for a fun fact when you see them, just to get them talking and start building that connection. Another way that we learned we can improve connection is through interactive spirit days. So the speaker actually had a different example than the one I gave here, but I couldn't remember it in full detail. So I went and I found a different example that accomplishes the same goal. But anyway, it's like rock, paper, scissors tournament day, where basically everyone starts with the beaded necklace and then you challenge people to rock, paper, scissors throughout the school day. And if you win, you take all the necklaces that your opponents have, and at the end of the day, the person who like turns in the most necklaces gets a prize. So it's like not just a spirit day where like, oh, you can dress up, but it's a spirit day that encourages everyone to go up and talk to people and, you know, form those connections. And then this is more about the VR technology I was talking about. It was called Z-Space. And basically, it was less of VR. I think they had a different term for it. It was called AR, which is augmented reality. So they were kind of like these laptops and they had pens attached. And then there were like these, it's a little hard to explain, but there were projections that sort of came out of laptops and you would use the pen to manipulate those projections. And it helped promote collaboration because you didn't require goggles to use it, so multiple students could be using one laptop. And it also allowed students to have experiences that they otherwise couldn't and develop skills for the workforce. In addition to that, it was AI supported and provided instruction and extra information. There were a few cons though. Like for example, it was really expensive. Not only did you have to pay for the equipment, which was expensive on its own, but then after that, there was like a yearly payment to keep the program running. In addition to that, in our district at least, our high school has a lot of really specific electives that already allow students to explore career paths they might want to take and also get hands-on experiences. So in our district at least, it would have only been useful at the middle school level. Also with where their program is at right now, it was limited in job exploration options. Like, don't get me wrong, it had a lot of options, but with how well equipped our district already is in our elective department, the job options that it had were just a little bit limited for the price.
Okay, and then that's the end of the report. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job with your first Zoom board presentation.
Thank you.
That was a little more awkward.
Yeah, that was great. It really seems like you guys are working hard to improve any culture, and I really like the Wildcat winter ideas. I think that'll go a long way. So kudos and great job.
I can say I attended the AR session with them, and that was exactly my takeaway. So I can vouch that they were there and they paid attention to that very closely.
Cool. Any other comments before we move on? All right. Thank you. Good job as always, you guys. All right. Moving on to board review and or action items. The first item 5.01 is we need to appoint our pro and con committees for our EP&O levy and our technology levy. And so I'm going to read each of the memos, and those individuals that have so graciously volunteered and when we actually approved our motion to move forward with the levy. So the district, then we are required to open a public process to recruit volunteers for both pro and con committees for educational programs and operations, EP&O. We received the following applicants, all of whom meet the residency requirements. Because each committee received 3 or fewer volunteers, all applicants qualified for appointment. So there was no election, there was no anyone that applied is basically appointed. And again, we thank them for for applying and volunteering their time. So for the EP&O Pro Committee, we have Elizabeth Beckman, Amanda Frame, and Kyle Granderson. For the EP&O Con Committee, we have Kelly Dillingham, Robin Balcom, and James Keefe. The committee members have been notified of their pending appointment and have been provided with the statement deadlines. Names will appear in the local voters pamphlet in the order the district received the volunteer forms, unless the district is notified of a preferred order by 8 a.m. tomorrow. And is that tomorrow, I assume? Okay, after we approve it. Okay, great. So do we have a motion to approve the pro and con committee appointments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the EP&O Levy Pro and Con Committee appointments as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
I'd just like to thank all the committee members for stepping up. It's an important part of our democracy to have both pro and con statements. So thank you to each one.
Yep. Yep. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Passes unanimously. Now moving on to the second, which is our Technology Levy Pro Con Committee appointments. I'll read it again, but it's very similar to the EP&O. The district also recruited volunteers for the Pro and Con committees for the Technology Levy. We received the following applicants, all of whom meet the residency requirements. Because each committee received 3 or fewer volunteers, all applicants qualified for appointment. The Technology Levy Pro Committee is Elizabeth Beckman, Amanda Frame, and Kyle Granderson. The Technology Levy Con Committee, we only have 2, Kelly Dillingham and James Keefe. As with the other, the committee members have been notified of their pending appointment and have been provided with the statement deadlines. As with the other, the names will appear in the local voters pamphlet in the order the district received the volunteer forms, unless the district is notified of a preferred order by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Do we have a motion to approve these appointments?
Motion to approve the Technology Levy Pro and Con Committee appointments as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
And again, just a huge thank you to all of them.
Yes, huge thank you. Yes. All right. So moving on to policy 1210. I will ask for comments, but I actually have a comment on this one as well, because I was a little surprised to see the edits on here. But I'll leave it at that, because I think there were some other comments as well. So what comments or potential edits? It sounds like we may want to pull this one off and have more discussion.
So for me, I just want to go back to the legislative rep conversation. It is a role that WASDA intends to be very facilitating of the entire board, being connected to advocacy, aware of what's happening, meeting people. It's not an officer position, it's a facilitative position. And so I'd like to, and a lot of districts have 2 people in that seat. And a lot of people have no one, and then they just send several people to a meeting. So I would like to adjust that so that we either do it by people who voice that they're interested in participating in that role, or if we do 1 person per year with an overlapping 2-year term. And so I would like to make that adjustment.
So you are, I guess I'm confused. Are you suggesting that we change it to a 1-year The reasoning behind the 2-year previously was so that if you built relationships with legislators, you
Cycle.
would continue the cycle.
Yeah,
So
that is one of the reasons they have that there. It is it's just not supposed to stay one person. And so and there are going to be there's going to be a new some changes to that work within WASDA over the next several months. And so I think that it works to either have each year people who want to be involved volunteer to be, or to have rotating so that it's a 2-year term, but they overlap instead of both people being put in.
I recommend it. I've actually got some questions around the newly elected as well, adding that, which it sounds like that's model policy, and that's why we made that edit.
Right.
I also would like to talk about it. So I would recommend that we
Right.
take this one off and have some additional discussion.
I would love that.
I don't know. There's reasoning behind the 2 years, and so we need to talk about that as well. I don't know if it's a work session worthy or if we put it on the agenda so that we can have a discussion around it.
Right.
And then also I think I would like to do a little bit more research on the whole newly elected, because that's a completely new thing. Again, I would recommend that we pull this one off and don't move it forward. I think that there's too many edits and too much discussion for us to move forward with it for a second reading. That's my recommendation.
I agree.
Melissa, can I ask just for our work?
Yep.
I've got notes on what Renee said. Is there for any of the board for that matter, any other areas that we need to do some digging on or give you some insights that might be out there?
The newly elected or appointed, the less than 1 year is a new one for me. And maybe I'm taking that personally because I was moved into vice president, like one of my first meetings. So I guess my perspective on that, where I'm sitting, is that if you have a majority of the board that is voting for somebody, that's what the board is choosing. So you've got
there
3
are
out
some
of
boards
5.
that are all new.
Right. And then you don't
occasion
have a
this year.
choice. Yeah. And so I think it would limit a board being able to select somebody if they maybe thought that would be a better person for like vice president or something along those lines. And so I feel like it kind of handcuffs boards. And in the end, if you have a majority, if you have 3 out of 5 that are voting for an individual to be president and to be vice president, I don't know why you would have to trust their judgment on that. That's my 2 cents. So
Yeah, I think I'm in line, and what I'd like to know is not a required or essential. I forget what the terminology is when we get policy updates, but if this is not tied to an RCW but a recommended WASDA 1, then it's not something we need to adopt. I kind of hear what our president says and tend to agree if a board's majority chooses to, then it should be supported by that board and not WASDA. That kind of goes against local control.
I agree, and it might perpetuate someone that shouldn't be in that position.
right.
It might enable them to stay because of that rule. So that part is a concern for me too.
This is a discretionary policy, so we can make what changes fit.
Okay.
I think that part I understand pretty clearly and have some notes on. I don't know how the board feels on what Renee said or I don't know how to voice
I'm not comfortable changing
voice
it to a
that.
year because there's a rationale for 2 years. So that one, I don't know if for
Well,
me, I
there's-
think I need some more discussion around why we would do that, what the model policy is, what others are doing, and why we would change it for for a year.
Well,
I
and
believe
that's
the
just
model
one.
policy is
That's
2 years.
that's a very small piece of the goal of the change. It's not to make it a year. It's to bring more people into the advocacy work. And that can be overlapping so that people serve 2 years, but they don't start at the same time, or people could opt in.
So
So,
I'm,
Renee, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
Because I see that role as like legislative representative slash point person. And
Right.
I would worry that if we had more than one person, I think it's wonderful that we have more than one person involved, but I feel it makes more sense to me to have one person that's the representative of our board to limit confusion and have one person kind of representing us at those meetings. And when we have to turn in a decision for our board or the top five that we want to move forward, I think it makes more sense to have one designated person, but I agree that we should be involved more for sure. So
yep,
just a thought on
yep,
that.
yep. I'll
It-
echo what Judith said. It's hard enough to build relationships and not send confusing messages if it's an individual versus someone speaking for the board. So having more than one really, really would worry me. I think
I'm
that's the reason why we have one. So I would be really concerned, even having an overlap, having somebody back up an individual if they can't make something is great. But the whole reason for the ledge rep, and from my perspective, being on here for 8 years ish that Gary and I have been on, has been it's that one point person that when our legislative representatives are coming and asking something specific or we're talking to them, they know they're talking for the board. They're not talking as an individual, they're talking for the board. And so that's why it's an actual elected role within the board, because there's a lot of trust in that, right? So that's, for me, having one individual, I think, is really, really important.
And I
So
think
again,
that's the model that was in place years ago, and it has been evolving. And that is something that is being moved away from more and more. And if you have people who have relationships with elected officials outside of our board, then um, we should be having, I feel like we should be having conversations during our meetings. What is our board stance on this? That is a typical thing that happens kind of after the consent agenda, an update on ledge work, and any votes on any issues that we need to have a board position on. And then everyone has that information, and there's no one who shouldn't be able to have that conversation with someone in the community or in a legislator's office, and that's where they're headed, is to create this as part of the role, not have a single representative, not have um, not have it be that way, so that it is a role that all people are engaging in.
so I'm very confused because I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing we want possibly two or all of us can talk. Secondly, some recommendations about the role and the duties of the role and our participation. And so Dan, I don't know if you suggest that we continue or if we maybe take this offline. I would like to understand the model policy because from my understanding, it's still a 2-year, one individual. And if we need to clean up the actual role, then that's another thing. But I'm a little, at least me personally, I'm not in a position I don't quite understand what's
So I
being.
don't know very many, if any, boards who only have one representative and one that shows up to all of the things. If they're engaged, it's usually more than one, and there isn't a worry about
I
which
think
one.
what we see is there can be more than one, but there is one. So if it's that ledge rep's role to ensure that at least one is there. That's more
Yep.
how I've
A
seen it.
backup. Yep. A backup or
That
assigning
said, I
that
can,
single point of contact. Yeah.
but it's not to say that more than one couldn't attend whatever it was, but that individual is, I don't want to say the fail safe because as has been discussed, we would hope that the board would be engaged in ways that they're able to. But
Yeah, in the past, we've gone to Ledge Day as an entire board, but then it becomes very cumbersome to have 7 or 6 people in a legislator's small office and
It
finding
isn't.
all that
It's
meeting
very easy to
space.
do
And
that,
so
Gary.
then the rest of the board kind of left it up to the superintendent, the ledge rep, and the student reps, which were the focus of the event anyway. Um, and the ledge rep in its advocacy will work with our superintendent and the staff to make sure we're all on the same page. So then you have an extra person working in the superintendent space and taking up their time. So it is kind of modeled after, I think it's policy 1225 that details the ledge rep's responsibilities. This is more about the annual organizational meeting. I might suggest, Madam President, if there's specific edits, you have the person write them for this policy and we can consider them. Otherwise, I think we should move to the next one. We could
Yeah, that would help
table
me
this.
understand because I'm a little confused how if we're looking at this actual policy, what the change is. So
Well, and as is true with so many policies, there is the policy that is on the paper that is very simplified, and then there is the guidance on what to do. And those don't line up with the words that are here. So,
so again, we've spent
yeah. So
so,
yes, yes,
we
I would
gotta
like
pull.
to
Let's
continue
pull
the
it off.
conversation later.
Yep. What?
just to clarify there too, we'll put in, I heard unanimously about the newly elected. We can change that. And Renee, if you would send me your suggestions,
Mhm.
we'll place them in and then the board can have discussion around that particular verbiage. Does that make sense? You'll send it to me and then we'll input it into a draft.
Just so that we are clear. Yeah, I think I'm confused. So
I'm happy to do that. And yes, I wasn't trying to extend the conversation, only.
Uh-oh.
okay, so we're gonna pull that one off and continue to work that offline.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving on to 2124. This is new physical education and health class. Do we have any edits or questions or concerns with this one?
No. Not for me.
Okay, not for me either. All right, we'll move that one along. Next policy is 1821, standards for individual school directors. I assume this is a new model policy, or we pulled this from the model policy. We've talked about doing this for years, so it's nice to see it on here.
And it's listed just as Gary mentioned earlier. This one's listed as important. They have new categories. So.
Okay. Okay. Are there any concerns or edits or questions around this one?
Good to
Not for
move
me.
on.
All right, we are moving on. All right, future meeting dates. We don't have school tomorrow, but beyond that, we've got winter break starting on the 22nd through the 1st. And I don't really have any other comments about this except for a non-student day on the 26th, which are always those ones that I forget about. Is there any good of the order that anyone else would like to start off with?
I just have a quick one. I just want to let everybody know that I have our board of distinct. I don't think I can show you guys, but I have the board of distinction certificates for each of you, and I will
Oh, cool.
bring them to our next board meeting in person.
Sweet.
I just want to thank Dan and his staff and all their teachers and bus drivers for all their extra efforts during this time of floods and appreciate all the great communication.
Yeah. Just so thankful that everyone was safe and taken care of. And I loved the stories of how people work together. It was so good.
I would just add there, Melissa and board, that we're constantly reflecting. There's certainly things that we can do better, and we know that. But after every one of these events, the team meets, we reflect what worked, what didn't work, what could we change, what other information is out there. So I just hope that families understand that we just don't sweep it under the rug and move forward. We always take these as learning opportunities and have conversations around that.
Yep.
I think an event like this just reinforces too the work that you are already doing, bringing on our associate safety director and how that is a big part of this levy that we're moving forward, refreshing the kits and all of that. I mean, an event like the last couple of days just tells me that we're on the right track. Great job.
Yep. Agreed. I'll just echo that, and all the way to using the most current data that we had at the time and choosing to have school all made 100% sense. But then being able to flip when something very unprecedented happened and unpredictable happened. It's everyone just pulled together, which is true leadership. It's true teamwork. The fact that everyone was able to turn it around yesterday, particularly evacuating elementary school students to the high school. And I've heard nothing but positiveness, as scary as that could have been, but I've heard nothing but positive comments from parents because when they picked up their student, the student was smiling and they were giggling because everyone that was involved didn't make it scary. They made sure that they got on the bus and moved quick, but just the whole attitude and the environment, I've heard nothing but just accolades. So I'm not surprised at all. I don't think any of us are surprised because we know how great of a team we have, but to act so quickly when something so unprecedented and so quickly turned, just big kudos.
And the students were, I mean, many of them aren't that old, and they were just amazing.
Yep. Awesome. Anything else before we adjourn the meeting? All right, meeting is adjourned at 6:08. Thank you all, and we will reschedule our work session for another time.
Stay safe and dry.